boys and girls? It's me, Nate from Everyday Gaming Study at Motor City Comic Con 2016 with the legendary Garrick Hagon. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you very much.
So, how are you enjoying the convention this year?
I've had a great time. I really have. I haven't really seen Detroit, but I've seen a lot of the people from Detroit, and everybody, without exception, has been really kind, and I think they're great fans. I enjoy the feeling of being appreciated even after all these years.
Well, that's the thing I love about conventions is that even though you haven't seen new stuff a lot, but people still fall in love. Like, I grew up watching the original Star Wars. I was sick when I was a young boy. My mom bought me the original trilogy on VHS, and I literally watched those things until they could not run anymore. And
Well, my VHS, I got a copy as a gift that I might have broken. Not because I play them so much. I don't think they were good to start with. But I occasionally watch them myself, and I still like seeing the original myself.
now, how did you get your start in acting?
Well, oh God, it's a very long story because, and it goes way back to when I was about 6. There was an actor that had a studio in Toronto that had classes for kids. So I went, and he was called Lorne Green. He ended up in a program called Bonanza. So I went there, and then about 2 years after that, I started going on national radio in a program, believe it or not, called Doorway to Fairyland. And we used to take off our socks and our shoes, not our socks, and do dramas live every Saturday for National Canadian Radio. And then I had my own show as a disc jockey when I was about 12 over the summer from CBC Toronto. So I go way back, and then I got in Stratford Festival and worked in Richard III with Alec Guinness when I was 12. So I kept going after that. I mean, I also lived a normal life, but I acted every so often, and eventually went to Stratford, Canada, worked there for 7 years. So the classical tradition is in my bones. I grew up doing Shakespeare and then followed that through by going to England and working in England.
So when did you first get approached to work on Star Wars?
Well, there are a lot of Canadian-American actors in London, and they called us all in, met George back in 1976, or maybe even 75, late 75, and obviously, those of us who got on with George and got cast have been very lucky actors.
I love the added-in scenes after the fact that Lucas added in later on with more talking scenes between you and Luke. Later on.
There's when I'd been off doing another film in between the scenes we shot in Tunisia and coming back and doing the attack on the Death Star, and by the time I came back to see Mark again in that scene in the hangar, it was like meeting an old friend. So there was a lot of truth in that relationship. Coming back and meeting him again was just like old friends meeting.
Now, what current projects or any projects are you working on right now?
Well, I've just done 2 or 3 things that are coming out on Netflix. One of them is called Wallander with Kenneth Branagh, and I'm in a segment of that called The Troubled Man, coming up very soon. And then a series called The Crown, in which Matt Smith, my old compatriot from Doctor Who, he's playing Prince Philip, and it's a whole big series for Netflix. And another one called Undercover with Dennis Haybert and Sophie Okonedo, and that's coming out on Netflix. So yeah, these are things I've just done, but I'm also an audiobook producer, and I'm working on the latest James Patterson book, Cross Justice. So I keep myself busy.
It sounds like you are. I find a lot of people go back and, especially Mark Hamill, do voice acting work. And
yeah. Well, I've done. I never met Mark when we were doing it together, but I'm in Batman Arkham Knight, and he plays, of course, the Joker, and I play Henry Adams. So unfortunately, I didn't hit the studio at the same time as Mark, but there he is. His voice is very much there.
What was it like doing work on The Dark Knight?
You know what? It was my first motion capture, and it was fantastic. I mean, it's a hell of an exercise, getting all togged up and putting dots all over your face and body, and being careful not to touch anybody because you'll stick to them. But creating the character is very much my own. I mean, I worked on it with them, and I did the moves and voice. So it's very much an acting job. It's not just robotics.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I hope to see more from you in years to come.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Very kind of you.
That's Garrick Hagon at Motor City Comic Con 2016. I hope you guys check him out below. We'll send all the links of his works. And as always, boys and girls, see you next time.